The worst moment of my life hit 4 million views before midnight. 1 second, I was standing beneath the blinding arena lights with a cheap plastic cup of flat soda in my hand, trying not to cry at my ex-boyfriend's championship after-party like some emotionally stable adult. And the next, I was watching him kiss another guy against the locker room wall while his hand was still wearing the bracelet I bought him for our 2-year anniversary. The music around me kept pounding like nothing had happened. Sneakers squeaked across polished floors. Someone screamed when the basketball team captain walked by with a bottle of champagne. And there I was, frozen in the hallway outside the VIP lounge, staring at Noah Mercer with another man's fingers tangled in his varsity jacket, like my entire relationship had been some kind of joke everyone else already understood. I think the worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was the way Noah looked at me after he noticed I was standing there. Not guilty, not panicked, just annoyed, like I'd interrupted something inconvenient. Adrian, wait, he started, pulling away from the guy beside him, but I laughed before he could finish because if I didn't laugh, I was genuinely afraid I might pass out right there next to the ice machine. You know what? I said, voice shaking so badly it barely sounded human. I actually think this is impressive. 2 years together, and somehow you still found new ways to embarrass me. The other guy looked deeply uncomfortable, which honestly felt fair. If I had accidentally participated in ruining someone's mental stability at a college basketball championship party, I'd probably feel weird too. Noah stepped closer, lowering his voice like that somehow made this less humiliating. Can we not do this here? I stared at him. You're literally cheating on me in public. You're being dramatic. That sentence hit harder than I expected. Dramatic. Right. Because apparently finding your boyfriend making out with someone else while half the athletic department walked by was just me overreacting. I nodded slowly, throat burning. Got it. Then I turned around and walked away before my dignity completely disintegrated in front of the beverage table. Unfortunately, the universe apparently wasn't done humiliating me yet, because the second I pushed through the arena doors into the cold March air, somebody shouted, "Yo, isn't that Noah's boyfriend?" Another voice answered, "Wait, no way. That's the art major guy from TikTok." My stomach dropped. I hadn't realized someone had been filming inside. But judging from the phones pointed directly at me now, everyone else had. A girl near the curb looked between her screen and my face with visible horror. "Oh my God," she whispered to her friend. "It's actually him." That was when I made the catastrophic mistake of opening my phone. Thousands of notifications flooded the screen instantly. Mentions, tags, DMs, videos. One clip already had over 2 million views. The thumbnail alone made me want to throw myself directly into traffic. It was me standing in the hallway outside the VIP lounge, eyes glassy, mouth trembling, while Noah chased after me in the background. Someone had even added sad music to it. My hands started shaking so badly, I almost dropped my phone. "Hey," a voice behind me said carefully, low and steady. "You should probably stop reading those." I turned too fast, wiping at my face before whoever it was could see I'd been crying. Which was stupid because obviously they could tell. My mascara probably looked like a crime scene. But the second I saw who was standing there, my brain completely short-circuited anyway. Jace Hunter, starting point guard, campus celebrity, future NBA draft pick, 6'4" of broad shoulders, tired blue eyes, and quiet confidence that made people stare when he entered rooms. He was still wearing his black championship jacket, damp curls pushed back from his forehead, one duffel bag hanging from his shoulder like he'd just escaped the party himself. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then his gaze flicked toward the crowd filming me across the parking lot, and something sharp darkened his expression. "Come with me," he said softly. And before I could even ask why, camera flashes suddenly exploded across the sidewalk. The flashes kept coming like lightning strikes aimed directly at my nervous system. Every time a camera clicked, another wave of panic rolled through me harder than the last. I could already imagine the captions multiplying online in real time. Cheated on boyfriend, crying outside championship arena. Noah Mercer caught with another man. Campus disaster caught live. My chest tightened so fast it hurt to breathe. Across the parking lot, a group of students started moving closer, phones raised high like they were approaching some rare animal instead of a human being actively trying not to dissolve in public. One guy actually called my name. That was somehow worse. Because strangers knowing your face after humiliation felt deeply violating in a way I could not fully explain. Adrian. Jace's voice cut through the noise again, calm and low. Look at me. I did before I could stop myself. Big mistake. His eyes were unfairly steady up close, the kind that made you feel pinned in place without him even trying. He stepped closer, just enough to block half the cameras from seeing my face. The movement was subtle but intentional. Protective. You need to leave before this gets worse, he said quietly. Trust me. I laughed once, shaky and exhausted. Pretty sure it already got worse. Another burst of flashes exploded behind us. Somebody yelled, Jace, are you dating him? My soul briefly left my body. Jace barely reacted, which honestly felt psychotic considering the entire basketball program probably survived on reputation management and protein powder. He just glanced toward the crowd, jaw tightening slightly. Then he looked back at me. Play along, he murmured. What? I barely got the word out before his hand slid carefully around my wrist. Warm fingers. Steady grip. Not controlling. Grounding. My brain short-circuited instantly. Because Jace Hunter was not supposed to touch me. Men like him existed in impossible campus mythology. Beautiful athletes with million-dollar smiles and future endorsement deals did not casually hold trembling art majors together in parking lots after emotional breakdowns. That was not a thing. But apparently tonight reality had decided to start smoking crack. Jace guided me toward the black SUV parked near the curb, keeping himself between me and the cameras the entire time. More people shouted questions as we walked. Jace, is Noah cheating on him? How long have you guys been together? Is this why Noah got dumped? I almost choked. Dumped. Incredible. Apparently, I had been upgraded from publicly betrayed to mysterious ex within 10 minutes. Jace opened the passenger door for me without hesitation. Then, right before I got inside, a reporter called out loudly, Jace, are the rumors true? Everything paused for half a second. Even the wind felt still. Jace looked over his shoulder calmly, one hand still resting against the SUV door above my head. Which rumors? He asked. The reporter blinked. That Adrian Vale is your boyfriend. My heart stopped so violently I felt dizzy. There were at least 20 cameras pointed directly at us now. I expected him to laugh it off. Maybe say no comment. Maybe deny everything immediately and save his public image like a sane person. Instead, Jace looked directly into the cameras and said, yeah. Silence slammed across the parking lot. Complete and absolute. Then every reporter started shouting at once. My brain genuinely failed to process the sentence. Yeah, just like that. Casual. Certain. Like he had not detonated my entire social existence in a single syllable. I whipped toward him so fast I nearly hit my head on the car door. What are you doing? I hissed under my breath. Jace finally looked down at me again, and for the first time all night, I noticed something underneath his calm expression. Tension. Not panic exactly. More like exhaustion stretched too tight. Saving both of us, he said quietly. Before I could ask what the hell that meant, he shut the passenger door, cutting off the screaming crowd outside. The inside of the SUV smelled like leather, cedarwood, and faintly like rain-soaked fabric. The second the door shut behind me, the screaming outside turned muffled and distant, but my heartbeat somehow got louder anyway. I stared straight ahead at the tinted window while my brain tried and failed to process what had just happened. Jace Hunter had told the entire campus I was his boyfriend. Publicly. Casually. Like announcing the weather. The driver pulled away from the arena curb smoothly while flashes still exploded outside the windows. My phone vibrated nonstop in my lap. I did not look at it. Absolutely not. I valued the fragile remains of my sanity too much. Beside me, Jace loosened the collar of his black championship jacket and leaned his head back against the seat with a slow exhale. Up close, he looked different than he did on campus. Less polished. More tired. There was a faint bruise near his jawline from the game and exhaustion shadowing the corners of his eyes like he had not slept properly in weeks. You are weirdly calm for someone who just detonated both our social lives, I muttered. One corner of his mouth twitched slightly. I am not calm. Could have fooled me. Years of media training. His voice stayed low and even, but his fingers tapped once against his knee like he was burning nervous energy under the surface. The SUV turned onto the freeway, city lights streaking gold across the dark windows. Finally, I looked at him fully. Okay, I said carefully. What exactly is happening? Jace was quiet for a second. Then he reached into the pocket of his jacket and handed me his phone. The screen showed an article already trending online. Championship star Jace Hunter secretly dating art student after locker room scandal. Underneath were blurry photos of him shielding me outside the arena. My stomach dropped lower the farther I scrolled. People are insane, I whispered. You should see the comments, Jace said dryly. I would rather swallow glass. That actually earned a quiet laugh from him. It was brief, rough around the edges, and somehow made my chest tighten worse. Fair. I handed the phone back carefully. You still have not explained why you did it. Jace stared out the windshield for a moment before answering. Because there were already rumors about me before tonight. His tone shifted slightly there. More guarded. What kind of rumors? The kind my management team does not like. Oh, management team. Right. I forgot normal college athletes did not travel with black SUVs and media consultants. Jace was practically a celebrity at this point. Future draft pick. Brand deals. National interviews. His life probably had contracts attached to breakfast. So I am damage control, I said quietly. The words tasted worse out loud. Jace turned toward me immediately. No, feels a little like yes. Adrian. My name in his voice felt unfairly soft. I stepped in because they were tearing you apart out there. I looked away first because eye contact with him for too long genuinely felt medically dangerous. Outside, downtown lights blurred across the glass while rain started tapping softly against the roof of the SUV. Then why say boyfriend? I asked. Because if I called you a friend, they would keep chasing you for weeks. His jaw tightened slightly. Boyfriend changes the narrative. People back off faster when they think someone belongs to somebody important. Belongs. That word landed strangely somewhere beneath my ribs. Before I could respond, another vibration buzzed across the seat between us. Jace glanced down at his phone screen, and his entire expression hardened instantly. The notification only flashed for a second before disappearing, but I still caught part of it. Do not let this get worse. Management is already furious. Something cold slid down my spine. Jace locked the phone immediately and looked back at me like nothing had happened. Too late. I had already noticed the shift in him. The tension. The pressure. Whatever was happening here was bigger than one fake relationship announcement outside a basketball arena. Then the driver pulled into the underground garage of a luxury high-rise downtown, and my mouth nearly fell open. Jace, I said slowly, staring at the marble walls and private security gate ahead of us. Where exactly are you taking me? He met my eyes calmly this time. Somewhere nobody can get to you tonight. The penthouse looked less like an apartment and more like the kind of place rich people in crime documentaries mysteriously disappeared inside. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked downtown Chicago in glittering gold streaks. Soft jazz drifted quietly from hidden speakers somewhere overhead, and the kitchen island was literally bigger than my first college dorm room. I stood near the entrance clutching my backpack like emotional support luggage while Jace tossed his keys onto the marble counter with the exhausted precision of someone who had repeated this routine too many times to think about it anymore. You live here? I asked weakly. Technically. That is somehow more concerning than yes. Another small smile flickered across his face before disappearing again. He loosened his jacket completely this time, and I accidentally noticed the sharp lines of his shoulders beneath the black compression shirt underneath, which was unfortunate for my already unstable mental state. You can take the guest room, he said. Nobody outside security can get into the building. Security. Right. Because apparently my fake boyfriend had private security now. Totally normal Thursday evening activities. Before I could respond, my phone exploded with another avalanche of notifications. I groaned immediately. If that is Noah apologizing through text messages, I am legally allowed to throw myself into Lake Michigan. Jace leaned against the kitchen counter watching me carefully. You should probably mute social media tonight. I should probably fake my death tonight. But despite my dramatic statement, I still looked at my screen anyway because apparently humiliation had not taught me survival instincts. Biggest mistake of the night. Again, the top trending post was already a split-screen video. On one side, Noah kissing another guy in the hallway outside the locker room. On the other, Jace wrapping his hand around my wrist beside the SUV while looking at me like I was something breakable he intended to protect anyway. The comments underneath moved too fast to read fully. Someone check on the X. Jace Hunter stole him so fast. Noah fumbled horribly. Wait, they actually look good together. My stomach twisted strangely at that last one. Then another notification appeared from an unknown number. He is using you. More messages followed instantly. Everyone knows this is fake. You think someone like him would really want you? My chest tightened hard enough to hurt. I locked the phone immediately, but apparently not fast enough. Jace's expression changed the second he saw my face. What happened? Nothing. Adrian. His voice lowered slightly there. Softer. More dangerous somehow. I hated how easily he noticed things. I swallowed once before handing him the phone silently. He read the messages without speaking. The silence afterward felt colder than yelling would have. Finally, Jace set the phone down carefully on the counter. Block the number. Kind of hard to block half the internet. I am serious. His blue eyes lifted to mine again. Calm. Controlled. You should not have to read things like that. Something inside my chest pulled tight unexpectedly. Because he sounded genuinely angry about it. Not annoyed for public image reasons. Not frustrated because I complicated his life. Angry for me, which felt infinitely more dangerous. Before I could answer, another buzz rattled across the marble countertop. This time it was a video request from Noah. I stared at it like it might physically attack me. Jace glanced at the screen once. His jaw tightened almost invisibly. You do not have to answer. I know. The request disappeared, then immediately came back again, followed by another text. Please talk to me. This is not what it looks like. I laughed once under my breath because honestly that sentence should be retired globally at this point. Jace reached over before I could spiral further and flipped my phone face down against the counter. The gesture was small, simple, but strangely intimate. Eat something first, he said quietly. Then you can decide if he deserves your attention. I blinked at him. You sound weirdly experienced at emotional damage control. Occupational hazard. Basketball causes heartbreak expertise. Fame does. The answer came too quickly, too honestly. For 1 second, something exhausted flickered through his expression before he buried it again beneath calm control. Then the penthouse elevator chimed softly near the hallway entrance. Jace looked toward the sound immediately, tension snapping back into his shoulders. Stay here, he said. The elevator doors opened a second later, and a sharply dressed man in an expensive gray coat stepped into the apartment, already looking furious. The man who stepped out of the elevator looked like he belonged on the cover of a magazine called Rich People Who Secretly Destroy Governments. Everything about him was sharp. Sharp coat, sharp jawline, sharp enough expression to cut glass. He stopped the second he saw me standing barefoot in Jace's kitchen wearing an oversized university hoodie and holding a half-eaten granola bar like a hostage negotiation had gone wrong somewhere. You brought him here? The man asked flatly. Jace's posture changed instantly beside me. Subtle, but unmistakable. Straighter shoulders. Colder eyes. Like part of him had quietly locked itself behind steel doors. Damien, Jace said evenly. Not tonight. Oh, great. Mysterious rich man had a dramatic rich man name too. Of course he did. Damien ignored me completely at first, striding farther into the penthouse while tossing a folder onto the marble counter hard enough to make me flinch. Your father is already calling emergency meetings, he said. Investors are losing their minds. The board wants answers before market open. I blinked slowly. Board. Investors. Market open. I looked between them. Okay, I said carefully. I feel like I accidentally skipped several chapters of context. Neither of them answered immediately, which was deeply suspicious. Damien finally looked at me then, expression unreadable. You did not tell him? I was going to. Clearly. My stomach tightened. Jace rubbed a hand across his face briefly, like he was already exhausted by this conversation before it fully started. Adrian, he said quietly, there are some things about my family I should explain. That usually means the next sentence ruins my evening. Another silence. Then Damien crossed his arms and delivered the information like he was announcing quarterly earnings. Hunter Sports Holdings owns the Chicago Falcons. I stared at him blankly for 2 full seconds. The professional basketball team? Yes. My brain stalled. Completely. Because no. Absolutely not. That was impossible. The Chicago Falcons were worth billions. Their owners practically lived inside financial newspapers and political fundraisers. Wait, I said slowly, turning toward Jace. Hunter, as in those hunters. Jace held my gaze steadily this time. Yeah, I actually laughed. Not because anything was funny. More because my nervous system had officially given up. Oh cool, I said. So tonight I got cheated on publicly, fake dated a campus basketball star, and accidentally ended up in a billionaire family drama. Adrian. No, I just want to make sure I understand. My voice sharpened before I could stop it. You are not just some athlete dealing with media attention. You are literally the heir to a professional sports empire. Damien looked vaguely impressed by how quickly I figured it out. I hated him instantly. Jace stepped closer carefully. I did not lie to you. You absolutely did by omission. I was trying to protect you. From what? Your terrifying rich people schedule. From them. His voice dropped colder on the last word while glancing briefly toward Damien. Something tense passed silently between them. Then Damien sighed impatiently. The family already has enough problems without a public relationship scandal. Relationship. The word hit weirdly considering this entire thing was fake. Supposedly. So this is all damage control after all? I said quietly. Jace looked frustrated for the first time all night. No, then what exactly am I doing here? My chest hurt suddenly in that awful sharp way emotional humiliation sometimes became physical. Because I realized something deeply embarrassing all at once. Somewhere between the parking lot and this penthouse, I had started believing him a little. The way he shielded me from cameras. The way he noticed when I was upset before I even spoke. The softness in his voice whenever he said my name. Stupidly, catastrophically, some small broken part of me had started feeling safe around him. Damien picked up the folder from the counter again and slid it toward Jace. Your father wants the contract signed by morning. Contract. My stomach dropped instantly. Jace's expression hardened. Not now, but I had already seen the top page. Confidential relationship agreement. My blood ran cold. Slowly, I looked back up at him. You have got to be kidding me. For the first time since I met him, Jace Hunter looked genuinely cornered. The silence after that felt unbearable. Heavy, sharp around the edges. I stared at the contract on the marble counter while my heartbeat pounded loud enough to drown out common sense entirely. Confidential relationship agreement. Of course there was a contract. Because apparently every moment tonight had just been another scene in a billionaire disaster simulation specifically designed to ruin my emotional stability. Adrian, Jace said carefully, stepping closer. Let me explain. I laughed under my breath, without humor. You know what is really impressive? Somehow every answer you give creates 6 worse questions. Damien checked his watch with visible annoyance. This conversation is becoming emotional and inefficient. Wow, I muttered. You somehow managed to sound exactly like a tax audit. Jace pinched the bridge of his nose briefly. Damien, leave. Jace. Now. Something cold entered his voice then. Not louder. Not aggressive. Just absolute. Damien studied him for a second before sighing heavily and turning toward the elevator. Your father will not wait forever, he warned quietly before disappearing behind the closing doors. The penthouse fell silent again except for rain tapping softly against the giant windows overlooking the city. I crossed my arms tightly across my chest because suddenly I felt exposed in a way I hated. So what now? I asked. You hand me a non-disclosure agreement and a trust fund? Jace looked exhausted. Truly exhausted. Not physically. Emotionally. Like he had been carrying something crushing for so long, he forgot what standing normally felt like. I never wanted you involved in this part of my life, he admitted quietly. Then why drag me into it at all? His blue eyes lifted toward mine slowly. Because when I saw you outside that arena, you looked exactly how I used to feel. That answer caught me off guard enough to silence me completely. Jace walked past me toward the massive windows overlooking downtown Chicago, hands shoved into the pockets of his dark sweatpants now instead of the expensive jacket he abandoned on the couch earlier. Without the cameras and championship spotlight around him, he suddenly looked younger somehow. Just a tired 23-year-old standing alone in a penthouse too large for one person. When I was 16, he said quietly, still facing the rain outside. My father found out I skipped a sponsor dinner to go to a normal birthday party with friends from school. I blinked slowly, unsure where this was going. Okay. He canceled my phone for 3 months. I stared at him. Jace gave a small humorless laugh. Not because I disobeyed him. Because he thought I was getting attached to people outside the family image. Something twisted painfully in my chest. That is insane. That is business. His reflection in the dark window looked strangely lonely standing there against the city lights. Everything in my life has always belonged to someone else first. The team, the investors, my family, public image. He glanced down briefly at the silver ring on his hand, turning it once unconsciously like a habit. Even relationships. My anger wavered slightly around the edges, which was deeply inconvenient because I was trying very hard to stay mad at him. So the contract is real, I said more quietly now. Yes. And your family expects me to sign it. They expect me to. The correction landed heavily between us. Jace finally turned around fully then, and something about his expression made my chest tighten all over again. He did not look manipulative. He did not even look defensive. He just looked tired. Lonely in that specific, devastating way powerful people sometimes did when they realized nobody around them saw them as human anymore. Do you know the first thing my father asked after the press conference tonight? He said softly. I shook my head once. He asked whether you would test well with sponsors. My stomach dropped. That is horrible. Yeah. Rain streaked down the windows behind him in silver lines, while downtown lights blurred softly through the glass. The penthouse suddenly felt less luxurious and more like a beautifully decorated cage. Jace, I said carefully, why basketball? His expression shifted unexpectedly then. Softer. Realer somehow. Because it was the only thing nobody could control once I stepped onto the court. The honesty in his voice hit me harder than it should have. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then my phone buzzed quietly against the counter again. Another message from Noah. Another apology. Another excuse. Jace glanced toward the sound, but did not move this time. Did not pressure me. Did not try to control the situation. He just looked back at me quietly and said, You deserve better than people who make you feel replaceable. And for the first time all night, I realized he might have been talking about himself too. By the next morning, my face was everywhere. Not metaphorically, literally everywhere. Campus gossip accounts, sports blogs, national entertainment pages. Somebody had even made a slow-motion edit of Jace looking at me outside the arena with dramatic piano music underneath it, which honestly should have been illegal. I sat frozen at the giant kitchen island in Jace's penthouse wearing one of his oversized hoodies while caffeine slowly failed to resurrect my sanity. Rain still streaked softly against the windows outside, turning downtown Chicago gray and blurred. Across from me, Jace scrolled through his tablet with the kind of calm concentration people usually reserve for defusing bombs. Please tell me at least one person on the internet has a hobby, I muttered weakly. No, fantastic. His mouth twitched slightly around the edge like he wanted to smile, but did not fully trust himself to. It should not have affected me as much as it did. That tiny almost smile. That quiet warmth beneath all the polished control. Which was exactly why what happened next felt like somebody dropping ice water directly into my chest. Jace's phone rang sharply against the counter. Damien. Jace answered immediately, expression tightening. What happened? A pause. Then all color drained subtly from his face. My stomach sank before he even spoke again. Take it down, he said coldly. Now. Another pause. His jaw flexed hard enough for me to notice from across the kitchen. I do not care who leaked it. Every nerve in my body started screaming at once. Jace, I said carefully when he hung up. What happened? He looked at me silently for one awful second too long. Fear slid cold beneath my ribs. Then he turned the tablet around slowly toward me. My entire world stopped moving. There it was. The contract. Not all of it, but enough. Confidential relationship agreement. High-resolution screenshots flooded every major gossip page online. Beside them were photos of me entering Jace's SUV outside the arena and blurry paparazzi shots of us inside the penthouse garage last night. The headline underneath made my stomach twist violently. Art student signs $1 million deal to become sports heir's fake boyfriend. My hands started shaking instantly. No, I whispered. No, no, no. The comments underneath moved too quickly to process fully. Gold digger. Fame chaser. Another desperate nobody using rich athletes for attention. Some accounts were already posting edited screenshots of fake text messages supposedly from me bragging about trapping Jace into publicity. One message literally said, He is worth more than the team itself. I almost laughed from disbelief because it sounded so absurdly evil it barely resembled human speech. But nobody online cared whether it was real. They just wanted someone to destroy. My throat tightened painfully. I did not say any of this. I know. Jace answered immediately. Too immediately. Like there was never even a question. Somehow that hurt worse. Because he believed me. But the entire world suddenly did not. My phone exploded with notifications all at once. Unknown numbers. Hate messages. Death threats. Somebody had somehow found my university portfolio page and filled the comments with insults calling me manipulative and pathetic. One message simply read, "He looked at you because he felt sorry for you." That one lodged itself directly into my chest. Adrian. Jace stepped closer slowly, careful like I might shatter if he moved too fast. Look at me. I could not. Because suddenly I felt stupid all over again. Humiliated in a brand new way. Not just cheated on this time. Exposed. Publicly dissected. Like the internet had peeled my life open and decided who I was before I even had a chance to defend myself. This is exactly what your family wanted, right? I asked quietly. A believable fake relationship. No. Then why was there already a contract? My voice cracked harder on the last word. Jace went silent. Just for a few seconds. But in moments like this, a few seconds felt infinite. My heartbeat thundered painfully while he stood there saying nothing. Not denying it fast enough. Not reaching for me. Not fixing it. And for one horrible, terrifying moment, I genuinely thought he was about to let me drown in this alone. The silence hurt more than the headlines. Then another notification appeared across the tablet screen. Live interview scheduled. Noah Mercer addresses cheating scandal and fake relationship rumors. I stared at it numbly while my stomach dropped lower and lower. Because suddenly I realized this nightmare was about to become public all over again. The press conference looked like a public execution disguised as media management. Bright studio lights flooded the massive interview room beneath the Chicago Falcons training arena, while reporters packed shoulder to shoulder behind barricades, cameras flashing nonstop, like a storm made entirely of judgment. I stood near the back entrance, trying very hard not to throw up directly onto expensive carpeting. Every giant screen in the room already displayed my face beside headlines calling me manipulative, calculating, fame-hungry. It felt unreal seeing strangers build a version of me out of edited screenshots and lies while thousands of people online cheered them on. Across the room, Noah Mercer sat comfortably in front of the media table wearing a navy sweater and the expression of someone deeply committed to pretending he had not detonated my life less than 24 hours ago. I think Adrian got overwhelmed. He was saying smoothly into the microphones. He has always been emotional. Vulnerable. People are taking advantage of him right now. The room hummed with sympathetic murmurs. My stomach twisted violently. Emotional. Vulnerable. He said it like kindness. Like he was protecting me instead of slowly turning me into something pathetic for public entertainment. Did you know about the contract beforehand? Another reporter asked. Noah sighed dramatically. I knew Jace Hunter's family had media teams involved. I just did not expect Adrian to get caught up in all of this. Caught up. Like I was debris after a hurricane instead of an actual person standing 5 feet away, trying not to break apart publicly for the second time in 2 days. I should have left. Honestly, I wanted to. But my legs would not move. Shame rooted me to the floor harder than fear ever could. Then suddenly the room shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a subtle ripple moving through the reporters near the entrance. Heads turning. Whispers spreading. And before I could even fully process why, the massive double doors at the back of the room opened. Jace walked in wearing an all-black suit that made the entire room fall silent almost instantly. Not athlete Jace. Not exhausted, lonely penthouse Jace. This was something colder. Sharper. He moved through the crowd with calm, controlled confidence, while security followed several steps behind him. Every camera in the room immediately pivoted away from Noah and toward Jace instead. He barely acknowledged them. His eyes found me first. That was the worst part. Not the headlines. Not the rumors. The fact that in a room filled with hundreds of people, he still looked at me first like I mattered more than the disaster surrounding us. Noah straightened visibly at the media table. Jace, he started carefully. I think everyone here just wants clarity. Then let us provide some. Jace's voice cut through the room smooth and absolute. No yelling. No anger. Somehow that made it more powerful. He reached the front of the stage and calmly placed a folder onto the media table beside Noah's hand. The leaked contract was incomplete, Jace said, which was intentional. Reporters immediately erupted with questions. But Jace raised one hand slightly, and the room somehow quieted again. The agreement was drafted by my family's legal team after the relationship became public. It was never signed by Adrian Vale. He looked directly toward the cameras then. Not by him. Not by me. Silence crashed across the room. My heartbeat stopped completely. Jace opened the folder himself this time, revealing printed email records beneath the flashing cameras. However, he continued calmly. Someone did attempt to sell edited copies of that contract to media outlets before negotiations with my family were finalized. Noah's expression changed instantly beside him. Tiny, barely noticeable, but enough. Jace slid another paper across the table, including these payment records connected to anonymous transfers sent to an account belonging to Noah Mercer. The room exploded. Reporters started shouting over each other while cameras flashed violently across Noah's stunned face. That is not true. Noah snapped immediately, standing too quickly. You cannot seriously believe. There are timestamps. Jace did not even raise his voice. There are messages. There are deleted calls recovered this morning. His blue eyes turned colder. And there are witnesses confirming you contacted sports bloggers before the leak went public. Noah looked panicked now. Truly panicked. But Jace was not even watching him anymore. He turned slowly toward the crowd instead. Toward me. The entire room seemed to disappear around us for one impossible second. Did this situation begin in a complicated way? Jace said quietly. Yes. My chest tightened painfully. But Adrian Vale is not manipulative. He is not opportunistic. And he is not disposable. Every camera in the room focused entirely on him now. His expression softened slightly when he looked at me again. Real enough to hurt. I was supposed to protect my public image, he admitted. Instead, somewhere along the way, he became the only thing in my life that ever felt real. The silence afterward shattered me completely. Then Jace stepped down from the stage, walked straight through the chaos of screaming reporters, and stopped directly in front of me before holding out his hand quietly like the rest of the world no longer mattered at all. For one suspended impossible second, I just stared at his hand. Cameras flashed around us like fireworks trapped inside a thunderstorm. Reporters shouted over each other. Security guards moved through the chaos trying to contain the room, but somehow all of it felt far away compared to the quiet. Look in Jace's eyes. He was giving me a choice. Not a contract. Not an arrangement. A choice. My throat tightened painfully as I slipped my hand into his. Warm fingers closed around mine instantly, steady and sure, and the entire room erupted all over again. Jace, are you confirming the relationship is real? Adrian, how long have you been together? What happens to the sponsorship contracts now? But Jace did not answer any of them. He just gently pulled me beside him and guided me through the crowd while cameras exploded from every direction. I should have felt overwhelmed, terrified. Instead, for the first time in 2 days, I felt strangely calm. Maybe because his hand never let go of mine once. Outside the arena, cold evening air hit my face sharply, carrying the scent of rain and city traffic across downtown Chicago. Black SUVs lined the curb while security tried desperately to hold reporters behind barricades. The second we stepped outside together, the shouting got louder. Somebody yelled my name. Another reporter shouted, Adrian, did you know who he really was before this? I almost laughed because honestly that question felt impossible to answer now. Did I know he was the heir to a billion-dollar sports empire? No. Did I know he looked at lonely people like he understood them too well? Unfortunately, yes. Jace opened the passenger door of the SUV for me again, just like he had the night before. But this time, before I got inside, he paused. You do not have to come back with me, he said quietly. The city lights reflected softly in his blue eyes, while rain misted silver against his dark hair. If this became too much, I would understand. There it was again. That fear beneath all the control. Not fear of headlines. Fear of being left behind. Something inside my chest softened painfully. You know, I said slowly, for somebody raised around contracts, you are surprisingly bad at understanding voluntary commitment. A faint stunned look crossed his face. Then slowly, genuinely, Jace smiled. Not the polished media smile from interviews. Something quieter. Real enough to make my heartbeat trip over itself. That was dangerously close to flirting, he murmured. Do not ruin the moment. He laughed softly under his breath and ducked his head once like he was trying unsuccessfully to hide it. The sound settled somewhere warm beneath my ribs immediately. Inside the SUV, the city blurred past the rain-streaked windows while silence stretched comfortably between us for once instead of painfully. My phone buzzed nonstop in my pocket, but neither of us reached for ours anymore. I think we were both exhausted from living inside other people's opinions. Halfway back downtown, Jace finally spoke again. My father is going to lose his mind tomorrow. Good. Another small laugh. You are enjoying this too much. A billionaire sports empire deserves at least one inconvenience. He leaned back against the seat, watching me quietly for a second. Stay anyway. The words came softer this time. No cameras. No reporters. No contracts. Just him. My chest tightened all over again. At the penthouse? In my life. The honesty in his voice hit harder than any grand confession could have. Because Jace Hunter, who had spent his entire life performing perfection for everyone else, sounded genuinely uncertain asking me to stay. Like it mattered too much now. I looked down briefly at our hands still resting together against the leather seat between us. His thumb brushed once lightly against my knuckles without thinking. Tiny. Careful. Human. Okay, I whispered. Relief crossed his expression so quickly and quietly it almost hurt to see. By the time we reached the penthouse garage, the rain had finally stopped. Downtown Chicago shimmered gold beyond the glass skyline, while the elevator carried us upward through soft silence. When the doors opened into the warm lights of the apartment again, Jace reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out the unsigned relationship contract from earlier. He looked at it for one long second before tearing it cleanly in half. Then again, and again, the pieces fluttered into the trash beside the marble counter like dead paper ghosts. I stared at him. That seems dramatic. I have been told I have a flair for symbolism. Rich people are exhausting. He stepped closer then, close enough for me to catch. The faint scent of cedarwood and rain lingering against his suit jacket. Close enough that my pulse forgot how to behave properly. Adrian. Yeah. His expression softened completely this time. No billionaire heir. No basketball star. Just Jace. Would you like to stay for breakfast tomorrow too? I smiled before I could stop myself. Only if there is no contract involved. And somewhere beyond the penthouse windows, the city kept glowing like the beginning of something neither of us wanted to lose.